Episode 3, The Holiday Letdown. If the holidays left your heart feeling a little heavier than you expected, take a breath. You're not alone. Sometimes the empty seats hit hardest, the ones held by those now in heaven, or the ones who just didn't make it home this year. But God meets us even here, in the letdown and in the quiet. It may be an empty seat that has you down, or maybe empty expectations. You wanted things a certain way, and well, they just did not go as planned. Today, we're talking about what to release, what to carry forward, and how to create a soft, grace-filled landing for ourselves in January. Let's walk into this next season gently, together, and letting go loudly, where grace meets the real stuff we carry. Leah, the holiday letdown, it's a real thing, and it's individual for every woman. We're not here to compare, but I'd love for you to share and expand on what this might mean for you or what you see other women carrying when it comes to that letdown after the holidays.
Well, Heather, I feel like just talking to women in some of my classes and seeing what they're really carrying over the holidays, it's hard. I mean, we all carry just a heavy load. You know, we're all trying to make everything perfect for our families. And when it doesn't go as planned, it's sometimes it is a letdown. And, you know, the weather right now plays a big part in that. Just because it's winter here, and sometimes the winter, just the snow and the blizzards, you might not
The
have
gray
that
skies.
perfect. Yes, the gray skies. You may not end up with that perfect planned Hollywood. What was I going to say? Hollywood holiday vacation, or even the you might not have had the best holiday ever because of these things. And I think it's just about thinking maybe I need to just in the next year stop with these expectations. You know, I can't just keep doing this year after year, this build up, and then be disappointed afterward. And why do we feel this way? What do you think? Why do we feel this disappointment? Like, what is it for you?
Well, and I think too, it is like, it's the difference between like that disappointment lies between your expectations and reality. So that gap between what you wanted and what you got is where the disappointment lives. And I think the holiday letdown for me, and I think for a lot of women, is the busy, you know, doing all the things, thinking that you're doing all this for your family or all this for everybody. And then it's over.
At the blink of an eye.
Yeah, opening
right?
the gifts,
It's
the
done.
food, the kids leave, or maybe they didn't
Yeah.
come home. And then it's like you're left with more time because you've been spending all your time focused on the holidays. And then you're just there.
Yeah.
And it feels empty, and it feels
Yeah.
like, what do you do sometimes between that week, between Christmas and New Year?
Mm-hmm. And sometimes after the holidays, you just feel like you didn't really have the conversations you would hope to have and get the closeness that you had hoped for because you're busy and maybe just that.
Not being present in the moment.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's huge. Being present, fully present is so important.
It definitely is.
Yep. So. Welcome to Letting Go Loudly, the podcast you never knew you needed. We're your hosts, Leah Lanham and Heather Hetchler, two midlife women, two certified coaches, and two friends who finally got tired of living by the rules we never agreed to. Around here, quiet compliance is officially canceled. We're letting go loudly and taking you with us. Now back to our show.
So, Leah, as you were talking before, you mentioned about like, why do we think this happens, or we have these expectations, and it made me think about, so maybe about a week before Thanksgiving, Barb Roos on Instagram had posted, "This is your permission slip not to clean your baseboards," and I remember like reading that, and I started to cry, and I'm like, because I don't clean my baseboards. I actually like, I clean my house, but I'm not fanatical about it.
Right.
And it hit me that like my mom did that. My mom was on her hands and knees the night before Thanksgiving, Christmas, cleaning the baseboards, making sure everything looked perfect. But on the holidays, she would nap. She wasn't around. And I would give anything to have had my mom present, to open the presents, to enjoy the meal. And I think that's like it hit me, and I'm in my 50s. I think that's why I don't do the baseboards. It's why I don't do that. And sometimes I think my kids might wish it was a little more organized, but I would have given anything to have. Like, I don't have a lot of memories of my mom on a holiday because she was sleeping, because she was so exhausted, giving us the perfect holiday when all we really wanted was our parents present. And
Right.
and
So maybe her present should have been her presence.
yes,
And maybe going into the new year, we need to make sure that we're taking that into consideration. That's a great point, because a lot of times we are busy doing these crazy things that we think need done, and we're missing out because we're not present in the ways that we should be present for our family.
absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think as we're talking about this, and we're acknowledging that there is a reality of the holiday letdown, and something that you may go through every year. Maybe for some of you it's really, really hard. Maybe for some of you, yeah, you're maybe a little like off for a day or two, but it's nothing really. But if you're really struggling, something I would encourage is to get out a piece of paper and to write down the things that didn't go well for you. You don't have to share it with anybody. You don't need to compare the list. Share, write it down, and then right next to it what you could do differently. And that might mean not having expectation wrapped around it. It might mean not even doing the thing. It might mean doing something different. And then tuck that away. Maybe you put it in your new planner. Maybe you put it in your Bible. Maybe you put it somewhere. And then next year, around October, beginning of November, pull that out and remind yourself of what was really hard and what was enjoyable and what you could do differently. And I'm not going to say it's going to erase the holiday letdown, but I think it gives you some power and control over what you want to do differently the next year.
Yeah. And I think I'm going to put my list in with my holiday decorations.
I love that. So you don't lose it.
I'm going to put it right in there, because
that.
when I unpack the box, I'm going to say, "Oh, here we go, right here. This is what I want to start it off this way, and I want these things to change this year." I think that's a great idea. I like the writing down, because I think when you put pen to paper or pencil to paper, you're making a little bit of a commitment there, rather than just thinking, "Oh, I'll do this differently," because we forget, right?
Yeah.
But when you put it pen to paper, you're serious.
You are. And I think you're acknowledging it. And for some of us, we have a partner that we can rely on, that maybe we can share our heart, that we can be vulnerable with. I know there's a lot of women listening that maybe don't have that. Maybe they don't have somebody that they can process with. And so getting it out of your head, getting it onto paper, because when we get out of our head, we move it through, right? We start to work through it. So it's not sitting there and we're not ruminating, but acknowledging it. And I think that's part of what we struggle with, is validating our pain and not comparing it to anybody else. Lisa Turkhurst, who's one of my favorite authors, she says, your emotions are indicators. They're not dictators. They tell you how something affects you, but they don't have to dictate what you do. And I think that it's important for us to honor and acknowledge what was hard, what we loved. Don't compare it to any other woman, and then do something different.
Yeah, I like that.
And if you missed our last episode, I'd encourage you to go back and listen, because Leah did a phenomenal job walking us through some different breathing techniques. And I think that that's something that definitely needs to be on that list, making sure that we are taking care of ourselves, nourishing our bodies, and teaching ourselves how to slow down.
Yeah, I agree.
So, Leah, what would you say is something that you do or you'd recommend other women doing for the post-holiday blues?
Well, I would say go shopping, but nobody wants to do that at that point. And nobody wants to, for sure, doesn't want to go shopping for returns, right? We don't want to take our returns back. But what I would do, I think in the new year, what I like to do is to just kind of reassess and just kind of reflect on things, and maybe take a long walk here and there. I know the weather in some of the places that our listeners are, it's cold. and it's really cold where we're at. We're in Indiana, and it's definitely cold. But I feel like when I take a walk after the holidays, I feel almost like I'm purging a little of all of the food that I've eaten, B, some mindset things that I've been working on, like limiting beliefs. Like I don't want to hold on to those. So I'm kind of walking to let go of a lot of these things. And I feel like it almost the cooler weather is kind of like smacking you in the face. I know that sounds weird, but if it's cold, you feel that cold sensation, and it's kind of like a reminder it, to just let things go, and it's invigorating to just do that, to just kind of come into a new year at the top of a year, and you're just in a good place. We can start all over again. And it's nice that we have that with, I don't know how, in your mind, I think everybody has like a calendar set up. Maybe it's not, maybe it's just me, but I can see my whole year, and it's almost like in a circle. And in December, it's really packed with stuff. But in January, I see just kind of like a clean slate. And when I picture it, and I'm like, ooh, okay, we have all the plans to make and all the things to do. And how are we going to do it this year? And I just reframe what I'm trying to do in the year.
I love that.
Yeah.
And I love how you bring in, I love your advice too about physically doing something, because I think like you said about going for a walk, doing something with your body, moving your body, and then visualizing what you want to do. Because, if you ever talk to one of my kids, like what is, what's your mom famous for? Like one of the things I used to tell the kids, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. And I don't think that we should hold on to schedules and things so tightly that we're not open to pivots and being flexible. But we also do need to plan. And I think being able to visually see where we want to do things differently, where we want to go with our life, our relationships, maybe our businesses, and then move forward to reach that goal. And if things change in the meantime, being flexible to pivot, but being aware of what we want. Because if we don't have a goal in mind, we're not going to achieve it.
Yeah. I heard something interesting the other day. I was listening to somebody's live podcast, and he was talking about planning. And it was interesting to me. He said, okay, you have two people. One of them spends 24 hours doing a certain task. I've spent 24 hours doing this certain task. And the other person spends 2 hours doing the same task, but has a plan. And the difference between the two, getting the result they wanted, the guy that spent the 2 hours with a plan got way better results in what he was trying to do than the person who worked so hard for 24 hours without a plan in mind. And I thought, that's really an interesting concept. So it's like work smarter, not harder.
Yes.
So really thinking about that in the new year, maybe how can we work smarter so we're not working as hard?
Yes.
Use your time wisely. And the older I get, the more I understand this concept.
Yes.
When I was younger, I did not understand that. And I really felt like I worked, 40 hours a week. And I was always the one going, oh, I'll do all the overtime. And then I got to a certain point in my life where my time was more valuable than sitting in an office, even for the money. I didn't want to do that anymore because I felt like my time's more important the way I want to spend it.
Yes.
Especially with aging parents and things like that. I didn't want to be doing the things I was doing before and spending the amount of time at a job that was paying me. I wanted that time for my parents and for my kids. And I think looking at that in January, moving forward, if you can have that in your mind already, it can change a lot of things that you're going to do in the year.
Absolutely. And I love that you gave yourself permission to do that. And so I think that that's what we talk a lot about as a theme in all of our podcasts is doing what serves you. For so many years, I think we sometimes become what everyone needs us to be. And we're at that age where our kids are grown and flown, and we also have our aging parents to take care of. So we're navigating a lot, and we do have to take care of ourselves. And part of that is being aware of what serves us and what doesn't serve us.
Yep.
and being able to let go of things. And so often I talk to a lot of other Christian women, and the things that we think we are supposed to be doing, we're not a bad Christian if we do them. Like, we sometimes have all these things placed upon us, and it's preference.
Right.
It's not biblical, so,
Right.
but being able to let go of certain things, and being okay to disappoint someone.
Mm-hmm.
Being, we get disappointed. Like, you're not doing it on purpose, but like, not everyone is going to love you. Not
Right.
everyone is going to like you. And friendships change, seasons change, and thinking about what didn't work, not even in the holidays. I love where you're going in this episode too, but taking some time to even look at the whole year.
Absolutely.
What did you learn this year? What did you learn? What did you outgrow? And getting to a place where you have a sense of peace with letting go of some things. And maybe it's letting go of some friendships that you're trying to make work. I don't know if you're like this, but I've had some friendships that there was lovely women, but we're just not, it's
Right.
just not working anymore.
Yeah.
And being able to say, that's okay. It doesn't mean you're not a good person or I'm not a good
Right.
person. We're just not, it's
Right.
not serving anymore.
Right.
And being
so,
okay.
Right. And being okay with that.
Yes.
And thinking about your time also in that relationship.
Yes.
Like,
what are you giving?
Exactly. And do you want to continue the time involved to keep the relationship going?
Especially if it's one-sided.
Right.
Sometimes I think for women, it can be a one-sided relationship because you just want it to work, but it's just, the time has passed.
Right.
And
Right.
that's okay.
It is okay. It is okay to let go of that. It really is. And it's we feel kind of guilty sometimes. I think we take it hard on ourselves, like, oh, but we've been friends for, but if it doesn't fit into your life and it's not, if it is one-sided, or maybe it's just taking up 2 hours of your day when you should be doing something to listen to somebody. If that's what you're doing, do you want to continue with that 2 hours every day of your life listening?
Yes.
You have to make that decision. Is that worth it to you, or is it not? So you need to look at it. Is this worth it anymore? And January is a great month to do that.
It is.
Because you have a clean slate. I feel like our slate is clean. We can look at the things moving forward and go from there. And if there's things that you don't feel serve you in January, then you can work throughout the year to get those things to let
them go.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we don't have to wait till January to start a resolution or to start a change,
No.
but it is a good opportunity to say, you know what, we're going to assess how this last year went, what we loved about it, what we didn't, and then we're going to move into the new year, letting go loudly of some things that don't serve us, that we don't enjoy, and we're going to focus our efforts and our time and our energies on things that do.
Yep.
And we don't have to apologize for it.
No, we don't.
We don't have to appease others. And it's okay if another woman or a friend doesn't agree with what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
It's important to be able to be authentic and to live out your divine design, the way God created you. And that isn't going to always look like the other women around you.
Right. And it's okay.
It is okay. It is okay.
We can all be different and we can all be the same. So there's a lot of things that, growing up, I always think of this because when I was growing up, I had a lot of male friends just because they were easy.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
they
yes.
dropped things.
Yes.
Like,
yes.
if I didn't like the
cattiness or the, yes, I had more. Yes, I did too.
And I always thought, even going through college, like I thought, I don't love that I have all these guy friends. I mean, I would love to have some female friends.
Yes.
How do I go about this without feeling like too catty? Because I wasn't I don't feel like I was a catty person.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a decision that you need to make as well. I think going through your life, where are you on that, and how do you get around that? And as I grow older and I learn how to be a friend to women and nurture the things that we all share together, I feel like my relationships with women are so much more mature and good.
Yes.
you know?
Well, and you're a great friend. I mean, we'll have to get into this one of the episodes, but we haven't even been friends very long. But we
No,
really
but
connected, and
yeah,
I'd say you're a huge encouragement. You're so giving, and you're a wonderful person. And I think
and you too. I mean, you have a way with words, and you're a great writer, and I just really appreciate your friendship.
and I think, we're not to go off topic, but I think that you and I have done a lot of work on ourselves. Like, I feel like, I have worked on myself so much that I am okay if someone doesn't
We
like
found
me.
ourselves,
Yes.
maybe.
And when
We found
yes, we have
who
let
we're supposed to
go,
be.
and now we're embracing, because we have so much more space to receive, because we have let
Yes.
go of all of the must do's and the should haves, and
The
you
great
have to be.
expectations,
Yes.
right?
And so I feel like there's more space and grace to welcome other people into our lives, to be present. And I think that's one of the things that motivated us to start this podcast, was because we want other women to have what we're having. Like, it's
Yeah.
that scene in Harry Met Sally.
And
Like, I want what she's
absolutely.
having.
We want to be
It's
you
possible.
to be authentically yourself
Yes.
and have no qualms about it.
Yes.
And that's really what
And
Letting Go Lively, that's where it kind of
stem from. Yeah. Our conversations.
loudly, not lively,
and
but lively too.
lively and loudly. Yes. And you can get there. It's not always easy. And I think, it was a question I was going to ask you. Maybe I'll answer it first, then pass it over to you. But, it's like, what's one small pivot you're choosing for January to protect your peace? Maybe it's spiritually, emotionally, or practicality. And I think for me, it's just continuing to be present in the moment. And for me, that means processing my emotions in the moment, which means sometimes I cry. Sometimes you might see me at Target and I'm crying. And when I got to that place, because that's really how I'm wired, to be able to hear something, like hear news, or even, like, I'm a very deeply empathetic person. So I would talk about how hard something was. And then I found that people were like, oh, you're not doing well, or, oh, I'm so sorry. And I'm like, no, I can be sad about this and joyful. I can hold both. And I think I used to sometimes stuff down my feelings because I didn't want people to think I was having a hard time, or I didn't want sympathy or pity, because those are just things that I don't want or need. But being more comfortable to cry when I feel the tears come,
Right.
be more authentic to say, no, yes, I'm sad that I just got this news about my good friend, and I'm okay.
Mm-hmm. I heard
That's
something
what I'm working on.
interesting. Yeah,
Yeah.
I like that. And I am not as empathetic. I'm just not as an empathetic person as you are. And I have two very empathetic daughters. And I am more what do you call that? It's not empathetic, but it's more like cut and dry, maybe. But I have a goal to become more empathetic. And what you just shared with trying to be in the moment with my
Feelings,
emotions and feelings, that's a struggle for me.
Mm-hmm.
And so I have to learn that. That's something that I need to work on, to be cognizant of, especially with two daughters who are very empathetic. And I'm not always that way with them. I'm more, matter of fact.
Yeah.
And it doesn't serve me all the time. That's for sure. But I really strive to be more in the moment with my emotions. And I heard something really great this weekend. I went to see We Are Messengers. It's a Christian band. And I went to see their Celtic Christmas presentation. And the leader of the band, the singer, was and is from Ireland. And he said, in America, people say, I am mad, or I'm lonely, and I'm this. And he said, in Ireland, we say, it's upon me. This emotion is upon me. Okay. So he said, we realize as Irish, in the Irish in me, is that the feeling is upon us. It's not us.
I love that, because we internalize those labels, and what we tell ourselves we become.
Exactly. And so what they have sayings that are, this is upon me, sadness is upon me. And I thought that was very interesting. I'm
going to try that reframe. Because I do think how we talk to ourselves has a huge impact.
Yes.
And if we tell ourselves all the time, I'm so lonely, I'm so angry, I'm so sad, we live in that. And I appreciate your vulnerability in saying that you don't believe you're as empathetic. I think you're very empathetic, but that you want to kind of be cut and dry and move on. But for someone who is empathetic, I had to learn how to rein my emotions in because I would make emotional decisions. I would go from that place. And that's not always the best thing to do either.
Yeah.
And so I think whatever your strength is, it can also be your weakness.
Yeah.
And learning how to acknowledge what your strengths are and when they become weaknesses and then how to work with them, I think is really important. And that's what we're going to be doing. And that's what we do here at Letting Go Loudly, because we recognize we're all wired differently and we're all beautifully made.
I agree. And I love that because it's easier to look at others. Like I look at my daughters and they're very empathetic, but I think, how can I help them to also be a little more matter of factly when they're making the decisions? Like you said, sometimes they're making decisions that are all emotionally based. And I'm trying to, as they grow and learn, trying to change that around. But yet I need to change myself to be more empathetic on some things that are really important to them. So just being able to pivot, like you said, back and forth and realize, how you are. And I think that's all about knowing yourself too.
Absolutely. Not putting yourself in a box. And then also having those conversations with your daughters or whoever that, like, if you need something different from me, tell me. Because I sometimes do go into coach mode with my kids. And they my one daughter's like, Mom,
or not.
I need you to be my mom, not my coach right now. And then I'm like, thank you for telling me. I will.
And my daughters do the same on the exercise realm. Because I'll say, if you get in this position, it really helps with your cramps or whatever. And they're like, but sometimes they listen, and they're like, oh, so what do I have to do for that?
Sometimes they just want to be heard. That's what we want too, right? Sometimes I don't want my husband to solve my problems. Sometimes I just want him to listen to me.
Exactly.
And so, but being able to tell people in your life what you need, like, I don't need you to fix this. I just want you to listen. Yeah. And then giving them the space and grace to tell you what they need when you're maybe going into your natural. Because we tend to give people what we need or how we would take it in a way. And so just because we take information in a certain way doesn't mean the people around us do.
And I agree with that. I agree with that. And I sometimes go into this advice mode. And I do that a lot with my kids. Like I'm trying, because I feel like they're coming to me for that.
Yes.
But they just, my one daughter, she knows. She's like, I don't want you to tell me that. I just want you to listen right now. So like, good for you. And, my daughters have both been in counseling for years. Yeah. They've gone to counseling for anxiety. They had anxiety at a very, very early age, both of them like in high school, and they've gone to counseling, and the things that they've learned there.
Oh my gosh, it's so healthy.
Me.
It's so healthy.
I learned so much just from them and the way that they communicate now.
I love
with
that.
me. And I love that.
It. And I love that.
They're like, Mom, our counselor, we don't want you to think that we like, she feels funny because, and I said, I love her. Believe me, I love her because she has taught you girls some things that I wish I had learned at your age.
Yeah, because we weren't taught that, and that's not a put down on our parents, a generation, but we weren't gifted with those tools. Yep. And I think as we wrap up, one thing I would want to share too, because I know a lot of women that are listening or probably have older kids or maybe even grandkids, but a friend of mine shared this with me, and I think it is just so brilliant. She was she was married, and her husband left her while she was pregnant. So she had her baby, and she's single for a really long time, but she decided that she would take, I think starting when he was 4, she took him to the pediatrician for his yearly, and then she took him to a counselor for his yearly head and heart checkup. And she did that every year. He went for his physical checkup, then he went for his head and heart checkup. So when he was a teen and he was starting to have some struggles, it was very normal to go to his head and heart doctor, because I think there is some unfortunately still some shame or stigma about going to counseling. Absolutely. And we go to the doctor if we break our arm. We go to the doctor if we're struggling, if we have a pain. We need to go to a mental health professional, whether that's a life coach or a counselor or a psychiatrist, to get healing and help for our head and our heart. And I think it's important that we normalize that. Yeah. There's no shame. I know.
I love that.
So I
so
think
smart.
Yes,
so wise.
I share that advice with so many people. I said, "Oh my gosh, you are brilliant." And she's like, "I just knew as a single mom, I wanted my son to always feel comfortable going to see a counselor. And I was
love
like,
that.
that is gold.
That's
That
healthy.
is gold.
That's very healthy. Yep, I agree. So as we wrap up our conversation today, Heather. Sorry.
That's all right. That's
we
life.
Want to put that down. Let's do that over. Sorry. It's my daughter I was just talking. As we wrap up our conversation, we want to remind you, whatever this holiday season stirred up for you, you don't have to carry it all the new year. God meets us right where we're at, in the joy, in the ache, and in the spaces where the table didn't look like we hoped. This is your permission to release what weighed you down, hold close what mattered, and trust that January can be a soft landing, not a fresh pressure. As you step into this week, ask yourself, what is one thing I can loosen my grip on? And what's the one thing God is asking me to keep close? There's so much grace here, and we're right here with you, learning, unlearning, and letting go loudly together. Thanks for spending time with us today and letting go loudly the stuff that doesn't serve you and that you never signed up for. We'll see you next time.
And there you have it. Another great episode of Letting Go Loudly is in the books. I hope you're walking away feeling heard, encouraged, and more empowered to live out your version of letting go loudly. Remember, life can be hard and beautiful at the same time. So choose what you're ready to release and make the room for the good that's already here. If this episode resonated with you, please subscribe, like, share with a friend, and leave a review. It really does help us grow. And you can find us on Instagram at Letting Go Loudly, where you can connect with other women who are learning to let go loudly. We'll see you next time, friend. And until then, continue to let go loudly. Bye.
Bye-bye.